Fan Expo, Canada's largest arts and entertainment convention.
Now, what do each of you think the most important thing, what is the most important thing authors should know if they decide to go the self-publishing or small press route?
Regardless of which way you go, the most important thing for both is make sure, and this goes along the lines of someone other than your mother liked it, make sure someone other than your mother edited it. I mean, so many people have said to me that they don't like to review, they don't like to look at, they don't even like to touch a self-published book because so many of them come to them with glaring spelling errors, grammatical errors, continuity errors, so many mistakes in it that when you've read it 42,000 times sitting on your own desk, you stop seeing them yourself. Hire an editor. The money's worth it. And if you go with a small press, they'll give you one. And it will be edited. But even before you submit, make sure that thing is edited from front to back to front, up and down, left, right, and center. That thing has to be pristine to even get through the vetting process of a small press.
I want to jump in here really quick. And don't go with a small press that doesn't edit. Because there are a few of those out there in the world. Don't go with those.
Yeah.
If they say they don't have an editorial department, flags.
Run away screaming.
Flags.
There's a lot of, because of the way the technology is nowadays, is that there's a lot of bored housewives out there that think that reading books makes them an editor. It doesn't. And therefore when they go, well, I can start a press, and they do, and then they start getting people in, and this can cause a problem for giving indie publishers, small house publishers, a bad name. And then they go, well, I have an editor. Well, she did this. Well, and the editing again is so horrible. I actually came across when I was reading an indie press book, and I read it, and I was appalled by the editing of that book. And I wrote back to the author, and I said, and this author had this book sold to this publisher by her agent, which really astounded me. I said, listen, and I told her where all the problems were. And she says, well, they were a small press, it was just her doing the editing. I said, you can't do that. And you need to talk to your agent about this, because how it was handled was incorrect. And you need to do something, because this is going to be bad. So what she ended up doing is she did talk to her agent. Her agent did pull the book, tell the publisher to pull the book and get it properly edited, and then they reissued it. But unfortunately, the damage is done. The publisher has published so many other books with horrible editing in it that most people, I won't touch any more books from that publishing house. And regardless if they end up with an editorial staff afterwards, it's important to ask who's your editor, or who's the editor, and what experience and training does that editor have. And if that person says, well, they didn't go, creative writing course here or whatever, it's like, well, or they were part of an online creative writing group or whatever, that's not training. Going to university for training, going to college for training in creative writing and editing, that gives you having a BA in English. Not necessarily so, but still, it's something, some sort of credentials is necessary for that editor, not because that person was a bored housewife or a house husband who was looking to do some editing. That's just to expand on that, but yeah, definitely.
The other thing to keep in mind, if you're going with a small press, this is complete, I agree totally, but it's already been said. If you're going with a small press or self-publishing, getting the book in your hand is only the start. Then it's going to be the slog, and it is a slog, of going to cons, of promoting yourself, of Facebooking, endlessly Facebooking, Twitter, YouTube, all of these any avenue that gets people to know that your book is out there. Because you can have the best book in the world. If people don't know it exists, no one's going to be able to buy it. They have to be able to find it. And you have to get out there and let them know that it exists. And my other publisher that I don't have the book represented here is currently going out of business. The reason they're going out of business is that they had some very good authors. But I was told that out of the entire stable, I was the only one who actually got out there and tried to make sales and tried to get an audience. And as such, they were getting books that they had spent several $100s to get together, because it takes several $100s as a minimum between editing, getting a cover. Actually, it's probably into the thousands. Yeah. To put a book out that they published, and they were selling 10, 20 copies. So now they're going bankrupt, effectively. They pulled out before that happened, but they have to close. So be prepared to bust your hump with the promotional and the bit afterwards. And you are going to bust your hump if you want to get anywhere.
And to add to Stephen's point, if you're looking for a small house publisher or indie publishing house, if you can provide them a note as well what your marketing plan is, that would probably get you more of a foot in the door than not. They might not ask for it in their submissions package, but you know what? Just having a little blurb in your query or where in your query letter might help you get in there a little bit more. Yeah.
They look at it more as a team effort.
Yeah.
You and them are in it together, and they will provide you with things, for the most part, that I've experienced, like a properly written press release that you can then send to whoever you can think of, like your local papers, news stations, radio stations, all sorts of things like that. And I've had that work wonders for me. And they also have lists of book blogs and book reviews and everything that they will send it out to, so that you don't accidentally double dip and send the same book to the same people twice, which they hate that if they get the same request more than once. But it's a team effort, and that's what's great about it, because if you get one of the big 6 publishing houses to take your book, you have no idea what they're doing, if anything. And they probably won't tell you. And I know several authors who are published by them. They just know, okay, stuff might be selling. I guess I'll know when I get my quarterly report. But you're kind of floating around with a stable of hundreds and hundreds of authors, not really knowing where your book stands and what's going on. And you're kind of in it alone. And this way, you have a nice, accessible, small group of people that you could call up and be like, hey, Editor Jessica, what's going on with the copy edits of this? And when can I expect a press release for that? And all sorts of things like that. And they will tell you, and they will help you. So it's great.
This segment has been brought to you by Nuki Kobai. When a Japanese fear goblin starts feasting on the people of Toronto, it's up to a modern-day wizard to stop it. But just who's hunting who? And what of allies?